All right. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in to this Mastering Real Estate Excellence. Basically, these are strategies on how to use our CRM with your day-to-day struggles as a real estate agent. And so what is what is a struggle that, let's say, a common struggle that every real estate agent kind of maybe falls through is he's got a bunch of circle of influences. He's got a bunch of, let's say, groups. Uh, I guess you can call them circle of influences. You can, let's say, other agents is another kind of group of people that requires follow up. But let's think of some other kind of always past clients, right? And then you guys tell me, do you guys have your past clients broken up into different levels? Is there different levels? I mean, I asked a question. It's maybe a stupid question, but a question, and it's right. And do you categorize it? Do you, in some shape or form, some shape or form, are you capturing this information and are you utilizing, right? I want to be sure to share my screen this time before I get into showing a bunch. So this is once again our dashboard. When you get into our CRM, the topic of discussion today is touch points. Sorry, I hit action plans, but let's go to touch points and let's discuss some things about touch points because touch points, it's not that it's a complex idea. I think everybody understands, you're going to have a bunch of different groups and you want to do follow up. So the way that touch points works is it works specifically with this category. If I am not correct, I think it works with, well, we'll find out right now. So based on, okay, so warm. So this is, if I'm not correct, this is relationship status here at our. So based off of these categories that you have under relationship status, active, cold, dead lead, hot, lukewarm, my sphere, warm, of course, manage item is to go ahead and create. Let's see. So obviously cold, hot, and warm, they're there for everybody. These are the ones that have been created. But based off of these categories, that is what shows up in touch points. So we can confirm that here. So that's first, what you really need to think about is, do I have that category, that group of people, right, here so that it can work with touch points? So that's number one. Now, when talking about relationship status, these are good options, but what I've put into people's minds is maybe something different, right? A little bit more precise and kind of utilizing it as a tool to help you kind of start with somebody and then move them through your business, right? So, and I would call that kind of like a sales flow. So I would build this out with some type of order and some type of sales flow. So that can be done many different ways, right? So if you're dealing with a lot of prospects, a lot of people that you meet, a lot of people that put referrals into you, right? So we've always got these categories, such as obviously first name and all of that kind of stuff. But we've got personal information where you can capture more detailed information about the person. Referral, right? You can actually, it's a note, so you can actually write something here in regards of the referral. But if you want to say referral agent, or referred by an agent, a referral agent, well, this might be referral agent, but referred by an agent could be another category. And then here you could have the agent's name, right? Or you could have it just in the referral source, you know, that agent's name, and then that would obviously be self-explanatory. So you can capture all of those types of details, but do you want to have it as a, let's say, sales flow per se, right? So with that said, you want to think about this. And if you look at the hardwired cold, hot, and warm, obviously these are the people that come into your, I guess let's just say your real estate business as cold, in hopes to get them to warm. And then obviously those ones are going to turn to hot, or the people that are warm will referral friends and family to you that are hot, right? And your hot bucket is obviously the people that are working, that are there to close within the next 45, 90 days, something like that. Really depends on how you work. But those are the standard three. But here you really could build it out to have multiple different levels. And if you do, all of those levels and all of those stages can be utilized in touch points. So as you can see here, we've got not only all the hardwired categories, but we also have we've got all of the ones that have been created, right? So if you needed something to show up in this list, so you could break it up to what list you want to pull how many leads out of per week, you need to make sure that you go to here and you go to categories, relationship status, manage, and let's just say, let's create one called newsletter. So now I'll have a newsletter. Let's see if I have to get out, just refresh. Let's hit setup, advanced setup, and now we have newsletter. So another key thing for this in order to work is for you to use these categories. Well, to use relationship status. And every lead that you have, you're given it some type of category, right? Whether if it's a different part of a stage within your system, if it is, and you might have not even thought about this. So this might be something new to you that you have to think. If this is new to you, you want to have a discussion. I can show you examples of how people are utilizing it, and it might expand the way that you're utilizing it and give you some insight to how you might want to start to run your stuff. But it's made things a lot, no longer you have to look through this and find what category you're using. If you have it in order, it kind of prompts you to, if they're in step one, well then, next step is step two. And if there's 6 steps to completing this and getting a person to essentially selling their home or purchasing their home. So you want to do everything you can do to have things pushing people from 1s to 2s, 2s to 3s, 3s to 4s. And so for that, there might be categories, stages in which you want to do the follow-up. So if it's here and the leads are actually given these statuses, right, and saved. So under all your contacts, you've got everybody, let's just say in their appropriate bucket, then Touchpoints is really going to work for you for the specific groups that you want to do follow-up. So with Touchpoints, this is more intended for an organic kind of follow-up, something personal. So I would assume, yes, you can just send out emails and text messages, but nothing like a phone call, having a conversation, writing down notes, right? So with that said, Touchpoints really is for personal types of follow-ups. So let's get into that a little bit, right? So now you can enable it and you can disable it, right? So are you sure you want to disable your Touchpoints configurations? Okay, so it's just a warning. So I'm going to say no to go back, but just for us to know, we can enable and we can disable. I've got it enabled. Now, if I wanted to do something simple, right? And let's just say from everybody that's in my CRM weekly, I want to be following up with any range of numbers, right? So we could have 30, 40, 50, right? That's to your decision. But this is the easy setup, is where you would essentially just say, okay, 30, and then you would save your touch point, right? So 30 people in a week, I want to be following up from all of those categories that I have in relationship status. If there's nobody in there, obviously nobody gets followed up on. So you would save, right? You would say yes to the save, but I just want to show you what it does is it divides, right? Takes a number and tries to divide it into something obviously even so that it can achieve your goal amongst all your categories. So it put 4 in all of the different categories that I have. So essentially it is going to pull 4 leads from cold leads per week for me to follow up with. It'll do the same with warm leads. It'll do the same with hot and so forth for all of the categories that now, once you've obviously saved, let's close this. I'm gonna log out of this real quick and get back in. All right, so let's let's go to Touchpoints again. Let's see if it already has populated people for the follow up with. So in the meantime, while this is, let's see if that helps. Let's just go, okay, great. We've got some people to call. Now, um, every Monday morning, you will be getting an email from Sparky giving you a list, your weekly list to make phone calls on, right? So you will get this list of 30 people every Monday, starting the week out. You will know who you need to be following up with. So just imagine 30 more, right? So essentially, it's all of these people in the hot. Now, I wouldn't necessarily that you have them, categorized as hot. Would I be following? Would I use touch points for hot people? Because I think it's inevitable. You're most likely speaking to these people consistently. You probably have got sticks and fires. You're probably doing something consistently with them. So why would you annoy yourself with, adding them to this? So for, you know, just to, just for example purposes, let's think of this hot as a different category. But what about cold? What about past clients? Maybe not people from a newsletter, because that could just be a real random list. But then again, it also could be a good one. You calling into people, seeing where people at, seeing if any of the, newsletters have resonated with anybody, kind of just, kind of get the word on the street. And you never know. They might send you somebody and appreciate the outreach. And now you've got somebody sending you over a referral because you followed up and they were part of your network. So don't want to say that it's not, but for following up, we want to look at more a lead source that you have that you've purchased. So having those categorized, going into those every once in a while, trying to dig something new, trying to dig some new business out of those and get some, obviously return on investment if you had to pay for those or whatever the story might be on those leads. So that's kind of number one. But you can see that once you've set this up, this is what it kind of looks at. Like it kind of gives you a counter of how many days you have left. So obviously we're, 4 days left of the week. If this was Monday, you would see this start off here and you would have more options. But essentially, you could work from here, right? This is a perfect place to work from because you have access to everything when it comes to the client. So these ones don't have phone numbers. Now, if they did, they would be here. So you could pick up your phone and make the call, right? Same with email and phone for the spouse if you needed it, right? You've got access to it at your fingertips. Now, let's just say you've got other details that aren't showing up here, but you want to see them, right? You can simply click on the name of the contact, and now you can see everything about this person, right? Not only can you see everything about this person, but we're talking send emails, text messages, add an appointment, do a to-do, review any type of communication that you've sent with that person, take a look at old transactions just so that you can make sure that you're on top of any listings that he's done with you or anything like that. You could look at contacts that have been linked, right? So no excuse to not use this as, kind of like a cool workspace because you get everything. You get the details, you get the emails. Now, let's say you actually called this person, they've been contacted, you spoke, you had a lot to say, boom. You're going to go ahead and mention, or you're going to press this contacted. And now if you wanted, it'll prompt you to add a note. And if you do that, all you have to do is add your note. Was it from a phone call? Yes, it was. Did you need to attach a file? Yes, I do. So you can do that. Now you've attached a file. Now you've put in your notes. You've addressed where it came from, right? And now all you have to do is save. This will record this and you're going to be on to your next phone call, right? So you can do the same with this contact, but let's say this one you saw somewhere. Let's say this person you saw somewhere. So you already followed up with them. Let's say you haven't put in any notes. So you're not going to say that, contacted. Well, you could say, and just note the whole interaction. But let's say this person is just not somebody that you want to follow up with. Let's say it's an old lead, you know, they weren't interested. So let's say you want to skip. The system will allow you to skip the lead and comb through the database to see if there's another one and offer it to you if it has it available. Doesn't look like it's available at the moment, so it didn't give me one, but you can skip through these, or you can, you know, let's say you called all the numbers, nobody picks up, you could click immediately the email, and now you have access to writing this person an email, pulling up your templates, going through any type of, you know, canned response that you have, and send the. You could also use any of the AI built, send a market analysis, create a newsletter, you know, reach out to a cold lead, might or a follow-up email, right? So you can definitely use the system, have access to all the tools in the touch points, right? Let's not send nothing. So let's close. If you had the phone number here, it would also show up as, so if you clicked it, you could send a text message. It would show up and give you that capability. So let's say you're, you know, you're doing your week's worth of work, and you kind of want to follow up and see what you said, who you've talked to, you know, what's been going on with all of these 30 contacts that you followed up. Well, you can go to reports and you can look at the contacts from weeks past, and you can look at the notes that was saved for any of those contacts. And so that's another cool thing. If you wanted to look at reports to see what your efforts looks like, that is definitely a good tab to use. Like this one, you know, looks like this one is just is that today? Yep, it is. I guess it's just from recording that it's been contacted. But this is trying to think of any other hiccups that somebody might have setting up touch points, but basically enabling it. Oh, well, we haven't looked at, I guess, the custom advanced setup, right? So if we wanted to not have people from the newsletter get followed up with, people are active, you're already speaking to them. Your hots, you're not going to want to follow up with them because you're already, you know, you got them. So your cold and your warms. And now by you saving this, it is going to adjust obviously the number of your goal, but we're looking at just these will pull out 4 contacts per week. And so this will be that total, right? It's less than 30 as you have it up here, but this is just for you to put in a goal, and it divides amongst all your categories just to make it kind of even. But this you can actually customize. 0 will let we'll exclude them from the follow-up. The rest with the number will pull 1 contact per week. And now you can hit save if I'm not correct. Yep, you can hit let me see, recalculate. Okay, yeah, so you don't want to do that, especially if you don't want them to follow up. So I guess we'd leave the 4 active was the no, and the hots were a no. So like that. So then all you do is you hit save, and now that is how you would set up the custom. Obviously right now these ones are labeled hot, so they wouldn't show up. Maybe if we click touch points again, it might take them away. Yep. So the other ones went away because we're no longer having them in the count, right? This one stayed because it's been contacted already and it's marked as contact. So we can't go back on that one. But for this week, based on what I've set up my settings, I have nobody to follow up with. And until I start putting people into these other, right? So once I start categorizing these people differently, and I guess we can just to do this as let's give some people some different categories. Let's make them cold, but let's do this. Let's do a mass edit. So I'm showing you how to do something else at the same time. Let's make everybody cold in this one. It'll start. Let's grab these people, a mass edit, nice sphere. Let's make just doing it random. Of course, yours is going to have reason. Make some lukewarm and say yes to this. Now let's go back to touch points. All right, so I guess it still hasn't taken up onto the other ones, which is understood. But now my next week, you'll see that I have a whole bunch of different people showing up in my list for follow-up. And so this is a way that you can automate your follow-up, not make it something in which you have to be thinking about. And if you know your categories and you know your numbers of how many people per group per week you want to speak to, you should be able to have consistent communication with all your different groups. So definitely do the math, like how frequent you want these to get circled around to, but it doesn't mean that you have to contact these people. Let's say they show up in the list, and let's say they show up in the list once every 30 days. Well, let them show up in the list once every 30 days, and you just review them, you know, and skip them if you want, or put in a note, reviewed account is in good standing. So no need to do any type of follow-up, you know. Um, any of the emails that you may send, like the holiday emails and this and that kind of stuff, all of that could be part of your, you know, your touch program. And so they're getting some form of touch. Doesn't need to be physically, you know, a phone call from you if you know everything is good with this contact. So, you know, definitely use this, you know, how you feel and try to work it into your business. But this is definitely a tool for follow up, right? And for people to over time rekindle relationships that might bring people. And I've seen people do it with just emails. So I could just imagine what in person, you know, a nice little phone call from somebody might do for somebody. So yeah, you might get, you know, a better response than what I see people do with emails and newsletters. However, those methods bring in people as well, right? So if you're not firing on all pistons, then I would definitely, you know, maybe reach out to me and consider, you know, having a chat about what we can, you know, do, what the system can do to help you fire on all pistons, send out newsletters, you know, engage customers, past clients, stay on top of any, you know, current business so you're not dropping the ball. Just basically make you a superstar agent, which will then, you know, turn on the faucet for the referrals. So that's definitely huge, right? But this is what I had installed for everybody was the touch points topic. If you are an agent of ours and you would like to take a deeper dive into this personally for yourself, I would love to, you know, have a moment, talk to you about your personal situation. So be sure to, if you have the invite, look at the look at my signature. In there is a link to book time with me. So feel free to book some time with me or put any comment in the comments below, and I'll reach out to you and help you with what I can. Alrighty, everybody, it was a pleasure. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Alrighty, ciao, ciao.